Hey guys, it's Joe here from Red Phoenix RS, and today we're going to be starting the RuneScape Beginner's Guide all over again. It's a project I did before on another channel, and we're going to do it again, because a lot has changed since I made that guide probably 5-10 years ago. So I will have timestamps down in the description to tell you where each section of this guide is, as well as how long each of these steps took, so check those out down there. So we're going to start here with the character creation screen, which, just do basically whatever it says, make your character look how you want him to. It's pretty basic. So now we're on the first screen after the tutorial. If you choose the I have never played before or I have not played in a long time, it'll make you play the tutorial. If you say that you have played very recently, it will let you skip the tutorial. If you get into the tutorial and realize that you know what you're doing, you can always hit escape and just hit exit tutorial. Now today we're going to play through the tutorial just in case you've never played the game before and want to know what that's like. The entire tutorial only takes a few minutes. But I won't really be doing any commentary because the tutorial just kind of walks you through it and holds your hand the entire way. Alright, so now that we're out of the tutorial, we are on to the Burthorpe Path system. Now this one, again, just holds your hand all the way through, so I'm not going to give too much commentary on it. However, it's basically just a second tutorial, and if you don't want to do it, you feel like you understand the game, which I imagine most of you do at this point, then you can run along the wall just east of where you start off, head south and run out the gate, and you'll be out of the Burthorpe Path system. Now that said, this tutorial is a little bit more comprehensive. It shows you some of the more modern mechanics about mining and smithing that have been reworked, so if you're an old school player, mining and smithing are going to be a little bit different than you're used to, and this will kind of help you understand things like that. There's also little stuff like the path system will show you the troll cave, which, to the best of my knowledge, has the best combat XP rates you can get in free-to-play, because Jagex did a great job of balancing this game. And Burthorpe is also generally just a good place for lower level players. There's pretty much every skill can be trained in this one small area, and that is going to provide you some significant benefits in the early game. So while I'm just going to hang out here and do the path system, feel free to just hang out in Burthorpe for any amount of time that you feel is necessary, and you can just follow along when you're done hanging out here and learning all the things you can do here. Alright, now there are 3 optional paths that you can also take if you would like to, and they help you make a full set of armor. I only took the melee armor set, and you don't have to do this through the path system, but again, if you're new to the game, it'll help you figure out what all you have to make and what all you have to get to make it. And this path only takes a couple of minutes to do, so yeah, I would recommend running through it. Now, if you only want to train melee right now, like I do, or if you want to train range or magic, just do the path for your specific type of armor, and that will help you when we get to the step after the next one. And that's when I'm going to show you what you have to do to train your combat in free-to-play. Alright, so our next step here is to unlock all the Lodestones. I'm going to be unlocking all of the free-to-play Lodestones outside of the wilderness. Now, if you're completely new to RuneScape, or at least RuneScape 3, Lodestones are basically our version of fast travel. So most places in this game have a Lodestone within about 2 minutes walk of them. Some of the Lodestones are right in the middle of towns, other ones are just on the edge. Either way, Lodestones are the best way to get around. They are completely free to use, and you can use them as much as you want, but you don't get any experience out of using them, unlike using, say, teleport spells. And also they take, I don't know, about 30 seconds to actually use the teleport, which will be interrupted by combat, unlike other forms of teleportation. Now, I would recommend that you unlock them in the following order. Starting from Burthorpe, I would run straight south to Taverley, then I would run southeast to Falador. From there, run south to Port Sarum, run east to Draenor, and then run further east to Lumbridge. From Lumbridge, run north to Varrock, and then from Varrock, run northwest to Edgeville, and then teleport back to Lumbridge, and run east to Alcarid. Now, I'm not sure if that is completely the optimal route, but it's a route that I came up with in a couple of minutes that uses minimal backtracking. And of course, you can also just unlock these as you wander into these areas, but I want to knock these out right away. They're going to come in handy in later episodes when we start looking at questing, when we start looking at other training methods, training other skills, and stuff like that. Alright, so now we're going to teleport back to Burthorpe to do our training. As I mentioned before, trolls are easily the best XP rates you can really get in free-to-play, and that seems to be true all the way from level 1 to level 99. Now, am I advising that you ever get 99 combat in any of your combat skills at trolls? Hell no. But if you only plan to play free-to-play and you just want the maximum amount of XP per hour and nothing else, this is unfortunately the place to go, from the beginning to the end. So the perks of trolls are, they don't hit very hard. Now, you're going to see me almost die a bunch of times, but again, I'm a level 3 right now, that kind of shit happens. Once you hit probably level 15 or 20, you have your iron or your steel, and you're running around in here, you're going to be one-hitting these guys, they're going to be able to do nothing to you. Now, very early on, the best thing you can really do, because they will damage you, you will almost die, is you can optimize for the combat triangle. So right now, I'm melee fighting melee trolls. That's not the best thing you can do. It would be more ideal to fight troll chuckers, which is something I thought about after I started doing this. But also, the trolls drop things on the ground. There is a soldier sitting outside, and you can just trade him, sell all your junk, and he will sell you food. So you will always have enough drops from trolls before you get too badly injured that you can just take all the stuff, turn around and sell it to the guy and buy more food. So you never really have to leave this cave once you enter. Now today I'm just going to go through level 10. We will be coming back here and doing this a lot, so be prepared for that. I think it's best to kind of break up the troll grind, you know, every 10, maybe 20 levels, because this gets old fast. It's really good XP, but it's very click intensive, and it's going to start to wear down on you pretty quickly. Now, there are much better ways to level up combat in members. In members, you can basically skip the first 25 levels of attack and strength just by doing the waterfall quest right off the bat. We're doing this in free-to-play. We don't really have that option, but that's something we'll look into doing once we have our bond, which is going to be a little bit, but we will be working on a bond eventually, and then I can show you some of those members' ways to get XP. Alright, so with 10 attack, strength, and defense, and 15 constitution, we're ready to go on to the next step. On the way there, I decided to reorganize my bank real quick, but basically what you want to do is teleport to Edgeville, and then we're going to go do the Stronghold of Security. Now, to get to the Stronghold of Security, you're going to start at Edgeville, and you're basically just going to run straight south. On the map, it's labeled as Gunner's Grun. No one calls it that, it's just Barbarian Village. You're going to go there, there's a little hole in the ground surrounded by some coal rocks, and you're just going to click on the hole to go in there. Now, it'll warn you that this is a dangerous place. You don't necessarily want to be here. Don't really worry about it. I don't think anything in there is aggressive anymore. I managed to go through here without a single thing attacking me. So at the very least, if you follow my path through here, you'll be safe. There might be a couple of aggressive mobs that I don't remember in here though. Now, the mobs in here used to be very aggressive, but that was way back in the day, and they just haven't updated the warnings. Now, in here there are a whole lot of mobs, and this is actually a pretty good place to train on free-to-play. If you don't want to deal with trolls forever, and you can take a slightly lower XP rate for a little bit more fun combat, this is going to be the place you want to do your grind. It's less click intensive, pretty fun, and the XP rates aren't terrible, they just aren't the absolute best you can get. Now, as you run through here, you're going to notice that you have to go through a lot of double doors. When this first came out, you had to answer questions about account security and stuff like that to get through the individual doors. Now they just ask you 3 questions at the end of each level. And the answers are pretty common sense. Don't put in your username or password on other websites, don't share your account with friends, don't leave your account logged in unattended, don't tell anyone your PIN, don't fall for some basic scams, stuff like that. Now, the main reason to do this nowadays is it's going to give you a little bit of startup money. So you notice as we went through the path system, it didn't exactly give us a lot of gold. It gave us, 200 gold or something silly like that. Doing this will give you 10k. And it will also give you some boots, which have really high stats, and anyone can wear them at any level. And that's going to be helpful for us later. It's just free armor, basically, and it's way above the level of our characters right now. The 10k GP is going to be good startup money, because, of course, the last step we're going to do here is we're going to try to end the day off with 100k in the bank. Okay, so now we're at the Grand Exchange, and there is an unskippable tutorial before you're allowed to use the Grand Exchange. The good news is you can talk to one of the guys and he will give you a very in-depth explanation, explain how all the interfaces work. If you are a new player who's never done this before, you might want to use that, even though it's incredibly self-explanatory. However, if you know what you're doing, you can talk to the tutor, and he will give you a short tutorial which is like 10 pages of text that you can just quickly skip through. Now, we are going to need to do this tutorial because we're going to need the Grand Exchange to start making money. Now, if you want, there are a couple of ways that you can use the method that we're about to do. If you want, you can put the 10k that you have, buy a bunch of arrow shafts and a bunch of feathers, and you can just start making money that way. And that way's probably a little bit faster right off the get-go, but you're going to have to do a lot of buying and selling, and you're not going to get a bunch of XP out of it. What I prefer to do is you can cut down 167 logs, and you can turn that into just over 2,500 arrow shafts. Then you go into the Grand Exchange and just buy as many feathers as you can, and then sell as many unfinished arrows as you've made with those two things. Go back in, buy more feathers, and just keep doing that until you're done. And then that'll get you to about 90k, and then just keep buying about 1,000 arrow shafts and 1,000 feathers at a time. Keep putting them together, and that will get you over 100k in no time. And that is a very solid, very stable moneymaker. It has always been a decent but not great moneymaker in free-to-play. But the main benefit is that it requires nothing. It's something you can do with no startup money at all. And if you have a little bit of startup money, you can turn that into about 100k in about an hour. Other things you can do to make a little bit of money right off the bat is you can try running to the stores in Varrock and just buying the items in their inventory and selling it at the Grand Exchange. This is a good moneymaker, but I don't necessarily recommend it because it's hard to know immediately what's going to sell quickly, what's going to sell at all, and what's actually going to sell at its guide price. So if you can find a guide that will tell you which items to buy and sell and at what prices, then go for it. But if you're just guessing, you're probably going to lose money unless you get really lucky. Now, if you decide to take the slower route, there are things you can do to speed it up. For one thing, the forest right in front of the Grand Exchange has a lot of trees really close together. It's probably the best place to get a bunch of logs quickly. Number 2, at level 6 woodcutting, you can use a steel axe, or a steel hatchet. And that steel hatchet will get you a significantly higher chop rate. And at level 21, you can use a mithril hatchet, but you won't get to level 21 right away. Doing this is more profitable, by the way, but I think the GP per hour is going to be about the same or even a little bit lower just because of how long it takes to get all the logs. If you already have a higher woodcutting level, then you could probably do this a lot quicker and maybe bring that GP per hour up. It really depends on your woodcutting level and how long you're willing to put into making the money, whether you should just buy it at the Grand Exchange or continue to woodcut. Personally, once I'm done with the woodcutting for that first set, I'm just going to stick with buying off the Grand Exchange because it's a lot quicker, it's a lot easier, and it's significantly more AFK. Okay, so once you've chopped all your logs, and what I would recommend that you do is chop them and then turn them into arrow shafts once you have a full inventory, and then just keep chopping. It saves the need to go bank, but it does cost you 1 inventory space to keep all the arrow shafts. Once you've done all of that, then you're going to go to the Grand Exchange and buy feathers. Now with feathers, all you got to do is buy a bunch of them, and then you're going to click on your arrow shafts and just hit craft, and it will make a whole bunch of headless arrows. And then all you do is sell the headless arrows, and this will make you easily 100k GP an hour, probably more once you get into the rhythm of things and you have the money to just sit there and buy the materials right off the bat. And realistically, doing this way, you could probably make about 750k to a mil an hour. So this isn't going to get us our bond money, although it potentially could, but there are better money making methods that we can use in free-to-play, and we're going to go into those. But this is just to get 100k so that we have some startup money. Let me buy, a full set of iron armor, iron weapons, and with those expenses out of the way, we have money to go buy armor for the next several levels, and money left over after that to use to make more money. So basically, we have to do this one grind one time, and from here on out, we'll be making a lot more money. Now, a bond costs approximately 18 mil as of the making of this video, so if you want to get a bond using just this method, it's going to take you about 20 hours of gameplay just straight doing this. So I'm not going to recommend this method for bonds, but this is a good method for when you first start off, just to get your first 100k, maybe even your first mil. Okay, now before we wrap up this video, let's talk about where we're going to be going from here. Probably in the next episode we're going to do the first couple of quests. We're going to work on raising our combat to probably level 40 or 50, and probably getting those range and mage stats caught up as well. The next episode will probably end with us having about our first mil in the bank, and that's it for the next episode. As for going forward, we're going to be going into getting bonds, finishing off all the free-to-play quests, little obscure bits of free-to-play content, and eventually we'll go into the early stages of membership. Because once you pay for that bond the first time, which is always the hardest, you do still have to keep buying a bond every 2 weeks. Now the good news is you can make a lot more money in members, and we're going to focus on making sure that we get the stats we need in free-to-play to make it easy to get those bonds once we become members. Now before I close this one out, I do have one piece of advice for you guys. I'm going to strongly recommend that you join a clan. Now I run one, and we are more than happy to take anyone of any level, and there are people with plenty of experience and people who started the game a week ago in there. And we are always happy to give advice to new players. and I know there are hundreds of clans similar to ours in this game, and if you're a member there are also XP benefits, so join a clan. It will help you out. When you become a member, it will give you pretty much a free 3% XP bonus forever. It doesn't cost anything, and that will help you out. It's an easy place to get advice, figure out new content if you don't understand something. So if you would like to join mine, feel free. It is Black Dust, and you can find me in game as Red Phoenix RS. If you don't want to join mine, that's fine. There are plenty of clans recruiting. Just run around World 3 sometime and just look for the people sitting around a weird pole with some symbols on it. But I would say that the advice that I've gotten from my clan and that my clan has been able to give to other people has been invaluable, and I'm sure other people who are in clans have had similar experiences. So with all that said, I'm going to wrap this one up, and I will see you guys for day 2. Oh, and I promise that future videos will be a little bit shorter. This one, there was a lot to get out of the way right away, and that just takes a while.